Welcome to Bilting Mushrooms and to our farm tour. We're going to be looking at composting and how you make a good quality compost to produce mushrooms, and then we're going to look at how you grow mushrooms with our new organic mushroom growing kits to grow portobello mushrooms. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for listening.
This is where the compost comes in from our stockpile, and we start the bacterial process. We put water with it, and every 2 or 3 days we turn the compost over because we're trying to encourage bacteria to break the cells in the straw down. Now, when you went to school in the physics lessons, you were told bacteria need 2 things, water and oxygen. Well, this is exactly what we're doing here. We're turning it over with the tractor every 2 or 3 days. We're putting oxygen back in, and as we turn it over, we put water with it. And it's a very critical stage because the scientists still can't tell us what food the mushrooms take from the compost. But we do know from experience over many years that if we don't do the process right, then we don't get such a good crop of mushrooms. So this is all based on experience, and I suppose one day the scientists will identify the food. But at the moment, we have to get this right, this composting process right, otherwise we won't get as many mushrooms per tonne of compost. Okay, this is another stage of composting now. We transfer it from the big heaps to a fairly long, narrow heap because we're carrying on trying to encourage the bacteria to break the cells in the straw down. We encourage heat, but we control it now by adding a certain amount of water, which we know by squeezing the compost, we know what moisture level it should be. Too much water, we don't get the temperature we need. We need to get to a temperature of 80 degrees centigrade because we know that's the optimum temperature to carry on the composting process, to work on the cells in the straw. And by this time, it should start to be a little friable, much easier to break, and to get it ready for the next stage. But it's most important to get the moisture and the temperature right at this stage because we know this grows the best mushrooms. Right, you're going to receive your growing kit like this. You take the lid off, and in there you'll find compost. It's white because the mushroom spawn has colonized it. We've done all the processes in the compost stack now. It's sterilized with the temperature, and then we sow the mushroom spawn in, and this is the mushroom spawn. We buy it from spawn manufacturers, and it's sown into the compost, and that's why it's white. The spawn has colonized the straw cells in the straw. The straw is organic. It's organic compost because it's coming in from stables all over Kent, and that's the stage we've got to. Now, in the top of your bucket, you'll find a plastic bag with this casing soil in. It's peat, and it's been neutralized by chalk because peat is very acid. And the next job is to spread the casing soil at about 1.5 inches depth all over the top surface of the compost. The compost will then start to grow into that depth. It's most important to keep the depth right.
And is the bucket organic or recycled?
Yep, the bucket is recycled. We get them from the food industry, so it's a really good use of waste products. So it's good for our process because it holds just the right amount of compost to do our 3 to 5 pounds of mushrooms. Now, the next stage, once you've covered that all with the casing soil, the next stage is to fix up your watering tape. Now, incidentally, the watering tape is made of recycled clothing, so it's an excellent recycled product. You first of all, once you put the casing soil on, you put the lid on just 3/4 of the way, just leave a little airspace and wait for the spawn to grow right through to the surface till you get a white mass on the surface of the compost. And it's that stage you take the lid off, you lay your watering tape across the surface, and you fill the bucket, fill the jar up, or any jar, anything, with water, and that will feed the water onto the surface of the casing soil. Now, at this stage then, you're going to see little pinheads appear. There they are, they've got to that stage. The whiteness in amongst the pinheads is the mushroom spawn. That will grow now. That has taken about 10 days from the casing soil going on it, and then, as I said, you'll see the pinheads. And from then on, it's another 3 to 4 days from the pinhead stage to the mushrooms growing on the surface. It takes about 7 to 10 days, according to temperature, to flush like that. You'll get a flush like about this size. You'll pick them off, and then after another 7 to 10 days, you'll get little ones appearing, and then you'll get another flush. 2 flushes, that's your main crop, and then from then on, the 3rd flush, another 7 days, it gets less. You might only get half the quantity, and by the time the 4th flush comes, the compost will have, the mushrooms will have used the food that's in the compost, and then it's time to put the organic compost onto your garden, or round the roses, or grow some vegetables, because the mushrooms will have used the food up in the compost.
And just to clarify, the tape, that needs to be lower than the bucket?
Yes, the water shouldn't be higher, because the water will then just run completely on. It should be about level, the top of the water should be about level with the casing soil.
And you do that after 7 to 10 days?
You put that, once you take the lid off, having left a little gap in the, just to let a little bit of air in, you take the lid off, and that's the stage you put your watering tape on. But make certain it's the water level is not higher than the casing level, otherwise water will just run onto it and make it too wet. This is the crop now that you're going to get after you've done all the preparation work. You'll see the mushrooms are brown because they're the chestnut mushrooms. They are there's much more flavour and there's much more bite in them, so they really are a good tasty mushroom. You can pick them at whatever size you like. The little buttons are used in some form of mushroom recipes, or you let them to grow to the big flat ones after a couple of days. They double in size. It's as they're growing over a day almost, and you let them to grow big and flat. They're the portobello mushrooms, which then you can use for other cooking processes. But it's most important to know that the big flat ones, they will colour your food. So if you're doing a nice creamy recipe, then don't use the big flat ones, because it makes it look not so good. And also it's important to, when you're picking them, to twist the mushrooms off, so as not to disturb the little buttons or the little pinheads that are appearing underneath. You either twist and just trim them, or break them off, and be very careful at that stage, because you've got the next crop coming underneath. And with regard to recipes, we have a website with a lot of mushroom recipes on it.